Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lloyd Skinner. I'm the CEO and founder of Greyfly.ai. Today, we're continuing our series of discussions with project experts, project professionals around their views of the uptake in AI in project management. I'm very excited to welcome our guest today. And without further ado, I'll hand over to Americo to introduce himself.
Hello, Lloyd. It's a great pleasure to participate today. Well, I'm Americo Pinto. I'm the CEO and founder of the PMO Global Alliance. That today it's the largest community of PMOs and PMO professionals worldwide. So what we do is work on projects and initiatives that can bring some benefits, some valuable knowledge and opportunities for our more than 10,000 members around the world. I've been working as a consultant for a long time, for more than 20 years. And in the last 6 years, I'm focused on leading this organization in more than 100 countries. So it's a pleasure to share with you some of the experiences and the point of view of this community about AI.
I can't wait to hear, to be honest, in terms of the impact of AI to that community. I guess I always start with the first question, which is, from your perspective, what sort of use cases do you see when we talk about AI in project management?
All right. So I could say that there is a big expectation about all the potential of AI in project management, right? So today, there is no doubt that this topic is at the top of the list of interest in many different companies for many different leaders. But at the same time, there is a big lack of knowledge, so people are not exactly aware about what it means in the real life, right? So in the last 2 years, there is an increasing interest in the topic, but as I said, people still need to understand a little more how it can be applied in a practical way at their lives, right? So I see some specific cases that are in the very beginning, most of them, but anyway, they look really interesting for a very near future. For example, we have some companies today in the healthcare industry that are using AI in their projects because they have a large base of data, and this data is helping them to make some smart decisions. So this is something that can be very useful to predict directions and guide the executives on the decision-making process. We also have a very interesting initiative that we are involved with that, by the way, that is, it's like actively listening to project meetings and record all this information in a big database and use AI to summarize this information in terms of what should be done for each project, what people which people are responsible for some specific actions, and which decisions should be made based on all this base of knowledge, and it's something very automatic because people, they are just participating in the meetings normally, and all this data is being recorded, and it will be used as part of this AI mind, right? That will help, again, project managers and executives to make decisions. So there are many possibilities. I believe that there are some challenges that can prevent people to do that. But anyway, there are many possibilities from now on. I see that.
I mean, both of those examples, you're drawing back to decision making and I guess informed decision making, informed by the power of the data and the power that the technology is enabling, by the sounds of what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. Prediction is the key, right? So if we can use all this data, all this knowledge to let people make better decisions, I think this is the future, right? Of course, we depend on our talent, on our competencies, but if we can count on all this knowledge in
Yeah.
in a structured way, of course, the chances of being successful will be much higher. So why not?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Well, let's keep the half pint full going for a moment, because you did mention challenges, so we will come back to those. But if you're talking about improved decision making, improved prediction, what sort of benefits do you think that would give the community, as it were?
Yes. In terms of benefits, as I said, I believe, I truly believe that it's a matter of not putting all eggs in one basket. When I say that is, okay, you can be a great executive, you are very talented, very experienced, but you don't need to make decisions based on your all thoughts, on your all experience only, right? So there's a way, if we have something really intelligent to help you on this decision, it's something great. But there are two big challenges for that, in my point of view.
Yeah.
The first one is about process and structure. So it's something more technical, because what we see in many companies, even big companies, is that sometimes all this data is a little messy, so things are not well organized. So, you don't have all the data in a way that can be really used in a reliable perspective,
Yeah.
So this is something that possibly should be treated from now on, so people should manage that much better from now on. Otherwise, trash in, trash out, right?
Yeah.
This is the first point of view. And the second perspective is a little cultural, because we are talking here about decision-making process, executive decision-making process. So we need to create some awareness for this group of people that they can rely on all of this,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
these guys, they know what they are doing, of course, and there is a big challenge to make them trust on what we are providing based on this artificial intelligence, that it's something a little fuzzy. They don't know exactly what's happening, right, in this artificial brain.
Yeah.
And in a certain way, there is someone telling them what they should do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something a little, a little, how can I say, difficult to be understood, right?
Yeah.
And of course, in the next generations, it will become easier for everyone. But this moment that we are starting, this process in many companies, I believe that there will be a little resistance, from this level that is key for the success of this idea.
Yeah, no, definitely. I concur with both of those points. So, I can imagine even when you were talking about data and it needing to be structured in its own right, I was also thinking, actually, it's not just a question of where the data is structured, but it's how do you access it? How do you control it? And how do you synthesize what is important and what's not important within that data? And especially if there's avalanches of data, I can imagine that is challenging in its own right. But your second point about culture, and I love the way, Americo, that you talked about that this is quite early in this evolution of AI and project management, and that we may be more resistant during this generation, not necessarily defining what generation means, but that you see that as coming easier over time. We trust in the conclusions, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And in a certain way, it's a big change for all these people, because imagine today I rely on myself, on my experience to make a decision, and now there is something that possibly can suggest, I'm going to say suggest,
Yes.
better decisions that I could, I could make by myself. It's something a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like in maybe 100 years ago when you had people, working with something, and I'm creating a new shoe, right? And now there is a machine that is doing that for me, and I say no, but what I do is much better.
Yeah.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah.
So there is something a little, right?
I can
A little
imagine.
challenging.
Well, I can imagine some people will completely embrace this and almost take you out of it completely,
Yeah.
whereas others will be more distrusting. And I think it's probably very salient at the moment. ChatGPT has just been launched, people. If you haven't seen it, do log in, get yourself an account and start playing with it. But there's already outcries about, what will it do to education in terms of, students basically cutting and pasting, their essays. And I can see, some parallels here. Some people may take the easy route rather than your point about suggesting or augmenting the human with greater knowledge and that knowledge across multiple people. I think it's fantastic as well.
And in a certain way, all these professionals, the executives, they will have a great chance to redirect their mind, their efforts to things that AI can't help them. So it's not a matter of competing with AI. It's a matter of, okay, let AI do what it can do in the best way possible, and let's focus on those things that really depend on us. It's like the shoes. The machine will produce the shoes, and let me work on the design or something like that. This is the future. 100 years ago, how can we bring this experience in our reality now? Because a big change is happening.
It is interesting. I mean, literally, not mentioning any names, but I've just been on a call with a CIO of a global organization, and that, well, you're not telling me anything I don't know. And my response to that type of thing is, I'm giving you richer information to reinforce what what you already knew, what the top risk areas are, but I'm also giving you more information about the next level of risks as well. Absolutely. Because that's hidden in the data often, so it's about unlocking prediction. That.
Prediction is the key, and we will reveal all this new, the new risks and challenges based on the past, based on knowledge, based on data, something that a person couldn't do by himself. So it's a great perspective.
I think the other point that you made, I wanted to come back to, was the change management piece and the resistance piece. But I often see this, look, we're talking about the application of AI in project management, but we could be talking about the delivery of any project. The success of a project is about bringing the people with you, not just the technical or the building or whatever the output, the deliverable is. It's the success for me is about people being brought on that journey and motivated. And I think what you're saying is, for these type of technologies, you've got to bring the people with you as well.
Absolutely. And especially in a virtual world, if you think with me, I could say, okay, let's take ChatGPT. I could say, okay, what should I do in a scenario like this? Okay, so I can have an answer, and based on this answer, some automatic actions could be launched. For example, emails, you know, and people will be communicated by that. So that's it, you know, there will be some specific things that I will not be concerned anymore, because all this data will be much more reliable than my all beliefs, you know. And okay, I will have my part in this game, because there will be things that I should focus because they really depend on me. But all this easy stuff, you know, that I don't need to be concerned about that anymore, because it can be automatic.
Hey, I can focus on the harder stuff. I can focus
Exactly.
on influencing people or decision making and all of that sort of stuff.
Or chaotic based decisions, you know, things that actually, you know, they are totally unexpected. And even with a large knowledge, it doesn't mean that, you know, it will be useful for the next step.
We're getting excited here, Americo. We're gonna have to calm down a bit. We're gonna have to calm down. Do you see this being different between sectors? You know, did one sector differ to another when we're talking about the uptake of AI?
Absolutely, because there are some sectors, some industries they have a heavy focus on data, right? So as I said, healthcare, banking, you know, they have a lot of data, and you can use that, right? There are other types of industries like manufacturing. Okay, there's data, but it's in a little different way, you know what I mean? It's not, usually it's not data from your from the final customer, for example, right? But for a supermarket, for example, come on, it can be so useful, right? Because retail, wholesale, there are many industries that can benefit from that. And even for those that at a first glance we can say, oh, maybe not too much, but I'm sure that if we mature these ideas, and it will happen very quickly, we will find many other ways. We are in just the beginning. In 3 years, when we discuss these matters again, we will see how was our ignorance, you know, 3 years ago.
No, definitely. I think what you're saying, it goes back to your earlier point about challenges in terms of getting hold of the data and accessing it. You know, the sectors you mentioned there, and these are sweeping statements, are perhaps more used to putting a data first strategy together, you know, dealing with big data, if that's the right phrase, or have, you know, gone some way down that digital transformation journey. Whereas, you know, and again, apologies for listeners, but, you know, maybe those sectors like manufacturing still have some way to go where they haven't necessarily, and again, sweeping statements, haven't necessarily completely put all of their data into one place, into some sort of accessible area, as it were.
Absolutely. And imagine, I was reading an article a few days ago and talking about what, for example, Alexa will be able to do in the near future. For example, okay, I have my monitor, and based on the results, Alexa will see that we need to lose weight, for example, and based on that, it will suggest some alternatives, and it will buy all the things at the supermarket that I need, you know, and it's crazy if you think about all the possibilities.
And the fridge will tell you when you're out of it and restock it as well.
Exactly. And all of this can be based on the idea of AI, because, okay, if I base it on AI, I see that I have health problems. Based on AI, I define my objectives, and AI tell me what would be the best alternative. Based on an AI, I will see what would be the best way of losing weight, for example, in my situation, because I'm an individual with very specific characteristics. So there are crazy possibilities, you know.
I mean, you transpose that to projects and you start saying, based on AI, this is the project at risk and these are the areas and here's the improvements that you can make to, you know, make that project succeed. And, you know, I'm personally very excited about that next step, not just, you know, pointing out where projects are at risk, but actually what can you do about it as well? You know, I mean, wouldn't that be fantastic? But in the meantime, I think the Alexa will be beeping at me, telling me I'm overweight all the time, but there you go.
Yes, it's true. It's true. It's the beginning of a new era, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about 3 years. What would it be like in 3 years? And as we know, you know, these revolutions sort of have massive steps, don't they? You know, it's slow, quick. So, you know, one of those ones. So yeah, I'd be interested in 3 years. But then I go, well, what about 10 years? Oh my God. Can you imagine that?
Yes. Actually, I can't imagine that.
Well,
I'm sure that everything that I try to imagine now will be wrong in 10 years.
Will be more.
You know?
It will literally be more. I honestly, but you know, again, I think, you know, that goes back to, depends on your disposition, doesn't it? You know, if you're you know, a Luddite to new technology, then you probably can't see round the corner. But you know, without giving too much away, I can remember a few years ago, you know, smartphones. What was a smartphone? You know, I mean, you know, I remember carrying a phone like this, you know, so tech is coming rapidly, guys. So, you know, my view is it's coming to the project domain rapidly, you know.
Absolutely. As I said, it will be much more a cultural matter, you know, because people will be resistant in the very beginning because they will, the real factor that will cause resistance is the feeling that there is something replacing them. But the excuse will be, oh, I don't know if it's really reliable, I can do it better, you know, I don't need it. But the real matter is, okay, I'm really afraid that it will replace me. So, and the point is, sooner you realize that there is no other way, sooner you will find where you are really important, you know, because AI can't help you with that, at least now.
Yeah. I think not just replace, but that sort of feeling of control. You know, if you go back to your Alexa example, suddenly somebody's prompting you to eat the right food, sort of thing, whereas you can just turn your back on people nagging you about that at the moment. So I think I definitely concur that some people will be concerned about their own roles and you know, their own well-being. But I think, you know, for me, it may be more about a feeling of lack of control in the first place, as opposed to if you've got a mindset of, well, actually, how can I use this to improve the control I've got?
Yes. When I say replace, it's exactly about that. It's like, okay, there is something that can do what I do better than me, you know. So I was supposed to be the executive that know everything and can make the best decisions in the world. Now there is something that can do it for me, you know, or at least a big part of what I've been doing the last 10 years, 20 years, you know. It's a little scary, right?
Well, I mean, as you get more senior, I think the more mature senior executives, you know, are used to having mentors and executive coaches and that type of thing. And maybe that's what we're calling on here is, you know, think of it in that way as a, you know, an aid rather than a resistance, as it were, you know.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's been a fascinating chat. I guess just wrapping up, and I think we could probably talk for a bit longer, but we better wrap up just from a timing perspective. You know, given all of that sort of stuff, you know, for me, I start thinking, well, why aren't businesses adopting this? You know, what's stopping businesses going forward now?
Yeah, let me tell you in the point of view of a PMO, right? Because I think it's exactly what our community represents. Actually, PMOs, at least the most valuable PMOs, we see that they are a very important point, a very important source of information for decision making for executives, right? So in a certain way, they try to, centralize information. They try to take some decisions. They try to solve some problems, and executives rely on PMOs because they know that what comes from them in terms of data, in terms of information, in terms of suggestions, is something that they can trust. The point is, okay, as a PMO, how can we use all of this new stuff to provide more information, more reliable suggestions and recommendations, and take some of this heavy weight from the executives in the decision-making process, and we can do it by them, because what we have in terms of information on that specific matter is enough to establish some actions, and because they are much more technical than strategic. Today, I really believe that even in big companies, there are many executives that they are very involved in decisions that they are not supposed to do that. They are very technical, operational, even tactical, and why? Because they don't trust, and because of this, they say, no, I have to make the decisions. But if we can create this awareness, so they rely on what we are building, the PMO will have a very important role, because they will manage all this data, all this intelligence, and take decisions, automate some specific tasks, and the executives will be free to focus on what really matters.
That's really interesting, because that's almost sort of saying there's parallels between the adoption of AI in project management and some of the challenges you get in adopting a PMO in the first place. It's almost a similar set of challenges. How do you get executives to buy into, if that's the right phrase, the use of a PMO and the benefits of the PMOs? I'm right in saying that I'm sort of seeing parallels there. Yeah.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah.
Brilliant. So okay, if there was one takeaway point that you wanted to finish off with, Americo, what would it be?
Well, keep your mind open, right? And try to understand what's coming. Don't be scared. You will find many great ways to be benefited by what's coming in the short, the medium, and the long term. So in the long term, as I said, I think it's too challenging to to imagine what will happen. But at least in the short term, there are many opportunities right now. Here in our organization, we have been spending a lot of money with copywriters, for example. ChatGPT is doing the job. Right.
Don't tell anybody.
So I'm sorry, copywriters, but you have to rethink what you are doing, right? So you know what I mean? It happens 2 weeks ago. It happened 2 weeks ago.
And look at it now. Unbelievable.
So it's now. It's absolutely now. And it's something, what ChatGPT is today is amazing. But I think, as I said, in 3 years, we will look behind and say, wow, it was so basic. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. I definitely get it.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So be open. I'm off to go and plug my Alexa onto my hand to see what's for lunch in the meantime.
Absolutely.
But Americo, lovely to speak to you. It's been fascinating insights, and I look forward to catching it up again at some time soon.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure, and let's wait for the future.
Excellent. Cheers now.